Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh.
All right, so the first session we are going to look at real quick is the before bouncing, so you can understand how this works. So here we are.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me.
So as you guys know, I did that in real time, so it's not going to be in key. It's going to sound like crap. So in order for us to get the effect, for instance, to these vocals and these vocals, I have what like a vocoded type sound. Before I can show you how I did that, I need to show you something very important that you also need to consider doing. And that is, before you even start bouncing, and you're going to see what that is shortly, you need to ensure that you create a new folder on your desktop. So this is what I would do. I'd create a new folder on my desktop, and I would save to a new version. Basically, I would go File, Save to New Folder. And then I close this whole session down, go to that folder, and reopen this. And here's why. In order for me to get the effect that I want on these vocals and these vocals, I want them to look like this event here, basically one long event. In order for me to do that, I highlight them, and I hold my control key, and this is in Persona Studio 1, and I press B. What it does is it bounces to a new clip. Now, the reason why you want to save a new session is because it's harder to go back to where it was, because if you remember, if I just Control Z that, there's actually audio under here. What if you want to go back and have that audio? What if you want the audio back? You might have in some programs a problem where if you bounce this audio and then save the session, you cannot go back and get that audio back. You could come over to your pool window and find it, but it's not going to have all the same edits. So what saving that new session to that new folder, it allows you to have a session where it's like this, and you could always go back if you're like, you know what, I actually want to have a couple more words in there. You can always go back to that session, and you could always come back to this point. All right? So if I bounce these, Control B, and I bounce these, Control B, now I can do what I want to do. And what I want to do is I want to add an effect to this and to this on its own. And in my next session, you're going to see what that is. Okay, so let's go do that. So I've created my new folder. I have this new version, and I can do whatever I want with it without any worries, and I can always go back. Well, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to put effects on each of these events. Now, if you've listened to the song, you do understand that the very end part of this has a separate effect. So I will cut these right here. All right. And what that is his.
Oh no, let's get.
And over here, I want to be able to put my effects on the actual events. All right. That's how this is going to work. I do that to save processing power. And as you already know, you can always go back and restore them after you do it. So let's just do it. The one that you're going to want to use is Waves Tune Mono. These are the two plugins I use for Autotune. I use the Autotune effects for recording live. We already know that. But the two that I use for actually doing the cool effects are Waves Tune and Melodyne. But it's how you use them, all right? So you do not want to use the Waves Tune Lite version, and I'll show you why in a second. The reason why you don't want to use the Waves Tune Lite version is because it does not have a function that the Waves Tune, the full version, does. But you want to use the mono because we're using it on a mono track, which is a vocal. There's no reason to use the stereo. So what I'm going to do is I need to affect this vocal here. So I'm going to just drag and drop it into a certain spot. Now, on some programs, you just drag and drop it onto this event, and it will create the effect on that event only. And here, if I drag and drop it here, it's actually going to put it on the track, which is something that I hope they fix in the future, because I'd like to be able to drag it to the event. But in order for me to put it here, if you click on these, you'll see this event effects. I've already enabled it on this one. Enable. I have to drag and drop it over there for this event. So here it is, and the function that Waves Tune Lite does not have is this global shift, which we're going to use to get a cool effect, which you're going to see shortly. So I'm going to put this back at 0. I'm going to minimize that. So right now, as you can see, I have the Waves 2 Mono on this actual vocal event. It's not on the track, it's only on this event, so if there's other vocals on this track, it will not be affected. Only this event will be affected. So, what do? Well, we're going to need to track the vocals, but I'm going to use Waves Tune on this one, and this one. Okay, so it's only going to be on this event. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to enable effects, I'm going to come here, I'm going to enable, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a Waves Tune mono right here for that one. And I'm going to drag a Waves Tune mono on this one. There we go. So for this first portion here, what I'm going to use is Waves Tune, and then for this other part, I'm going to edit with Melodyne. So I'm using two separate effects for this, and you'll see why shortly. So first thing we need to do is we need to get Waves Tune to recognize the pitch, because when it first comes up, there's nothing going on. First thing we need to do is set our key, and in this case, this key is F minor. All right, so I set that. That's all you need to set. Come to this one. Here's my other Waves Tune. I need to set that to F minor. And the last one I'm going to set to F minor also. F minor. Again, that's the key of the instrumental. So now we need to get Waves Tune to recognize the pitch, and all you have to do is play the audio. So I'm going to play the audio, and it doesn't matter if it plays to this point here, because the only thing that's going to be getting tracked is these events. Once it gets to this event, there's no Waves Tune on there, so it's not going to really matter. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to place it, always place it a little before for buffer reasons. You should too, to just give it some time to think. And it's going to click on this, and so you can see what it kind of does. I'm going to open it. You don't have to. I can leave this closed, and it'll still pitch it. It'll still track all the pitches, but I'm just going to open it so you can see what it does. So once I play this, I'm going to play it.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these glasses with that hypnotic. Come on, let's get.
It has tracked the pitch. You can see a waveform. I'm not going to explain the whole plugin because you can read the manual. I'm not using any of the vibrato section. If you want to get into that, you can check the manual, but I don't ever use it. Everything else is just stock. The only thing I changed was the F and the minor. Okay, and as you can see, here's a little waveform that shows you the waveform, and it shows you where the playhead is. Now, that doesn't matter. Now, as you noticed, I had that one open on this track, but what about these? What happened? Well, let's see. It tracked the pitch also in those, but as you can see, it tracked.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
No, I like it. So excited. It tracked the pitch for those. Now we need to adjust them. So let's get to adjusting them. So we're going to edit each one. This first one up here is just going to be a straight up pitch correction for a nice smooth auto-tune sound. So I'm going to open this up. This first one, I'm going to click on it so that I can see the effect. Double click on it, and here it is. Here is, and if you want to scroll, I need to find it so you can grab this up here and scroll to the portion where it is. Here it is. Now before you touch any of these note blobs, all this is it has tracked the pitch, and it is guessing the pitch, and it is only allowing the pitch to snap to the key of F minor. And how that works is it blots out certain keys, and it does not allow the vocal to go into that, okay? Kind of like when you record in real time, you're recording in real time with Autotune, and it only snaps to pitches. Your voice will only go to pitches that are allowed in that key. The first thing I do before I touch anything is I bring up my note tolerance to around 30, and then I click Select All. This is very important. You have to click Select All. It will select all of the notes. Here's the trick to getting smooth Autotune. You have your speed knob, which is the speed of correction. If you bring this down to 0, you will get an effect right off the bat. So I'm going to go and I'm going to solo this only. And we're going to play this. Only this portion is going to play, and you're going to hear it.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
So it's already correcting it. However, what brings in the effect even more is what's called note transition. If you watch the beginning of each note, there is a correction line adjustment. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. As I bring this down, watch the note blobs. You see how they're getting more straighter and straighter? The more you bring this down, the more sudden the pitch between each note is going to get switched. So you'll get something like this.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these glasses with their hypnotic.
So what I've done is I have smoothed out the thing, and it's got just a little bit of auto-tune effect. Okay, I'm going to show you later how to get even more auto-tune effect, but we're going to go over this first. So we got the auto-tune. Now, I do not like the sound of that. I like it to have, I usually go 1, and I like a note transition. If you're trying to go for that sudden pitch effect, like where it goes from one pitch to the next, and you can actually hear the drift, like like that, like this.
Oh girl, you know I like.
When it goes from here to here and you can actually hear that shift, which is what some people like, you want your note transition to be about 0. However, I like it to go into the next note really smoothly, and this is the main secret to smooth autotune: note transition. If you put it on 9 or 8, somewhere around there, the transition will sound more normal, and it'll sound like the vocals are really smooth, and you will not get the erratic jumping from pitch to pitch.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic.
All right, so there we go. We got this smoothed out. Let's move on to the next one. However, before I do that, you need to listen to it. And you need to listen to it with the instrumental, and here's why. I'm going to have the instrumental going.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these glasses with their hypnotic.
Now, this is kind of off a little bit because once I'm done doing all my editing, I go in here and I make sure that these vocals are directly on beat. Sometimes you're off a little bit when you're recording with effects, and you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to move your vocals around so that they are on point. It sounds to me like this is a little off, and I know it is because once I was done, I went and I moved them around just a little bit. Now, that's a whole separate thing. So here's what we need to do. The reason why I'm listening to it is because you need to ensure that every pitch has been tracked properly. Here's an example. If I bring up Waves 2 Mono, and you know how your melody goes for your vocal, but let's just say, for instance, that this, you have to click somewhere else before you can even mess around in here. If I just want to mess with this note, I just drag this down. Let's listen to it.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Did you hear that? Right there. No, I like it. That does not sound the way I want it to sound. I'll even drop this one down.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
All right, what happens sometimes is when you track with Waves Tune or Melodyne, it will miscalculate the pitch of a certain note or word. So what you need to do is you need to listen to it. And you need to go in and find out, you should be able to hear it because you know how you sing it. It should go, oh girl, you know I like it. It should go something like that, right? So I know that this is incorrect. So I know this needs to go up here. And you can drag this one up here too, because I know that that's the one. But I might listen to it and say, let's see here.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Okay, this one might need to go up.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
That's how it should sound. Now, sometimes the end of the note here, you see how this turns into this little tool? Sometimes the end of the note will sound like this.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
It doesn't sound right, obviously. And all you have to do is that means it also possibly didn't catch the correct transition. There's 2 things you can do to fix that. The first one is you can grab your tool here, which is this one, hover over the end of a note. Let me zoom in some. Here it is. And you can drag it. So I'll drag it over.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Still doesn't sound that right.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Okay, so you also have that you can work with. That allows you to change the transition between note to note. The other thing is sometimes you may need to split a note. Let's say if I sung this differently, this part right here, and
oh girl, you know
I really went, oh girl, something stupid, right? So I could split this, grab this, bring this up.
Oh girl, you know I like.
Which of course, I did not do it that way, but that's just an example. And I'm not here to show you how to edit inside Melodyne. I'm here to show you how to get Waves Tune. I'm here to show you how to get the effects. So if ever you need to go back, just click this undo. I'll undo that split. So it's a very powerful program. You just need to ensure that you listen to it so you can ensure that all the pitches are correct and everything got tracked properly. Okay? Now, we also have it on here. Oops. We also have the effect on these two here. So let's go ahead and look at that. So on this event right here, I just wanted the smooth Autotune sound. So we got that, but we're actually using a different plugin. We're not using Autotune, as you already know. Well, now let's work on these. We need to have the vocoded type sound without using a vocoder, and here's how we do that. First off, we need to make sure that Waves Tune selected the pitches correctly and can correct them correctly. So I'm going to solo this one alone, and I'm going to open up the Waves Tune mono by clicking on this event and opening it right here. I'm going to ensure that they were all captured. There they are. I hit select all, and now I am going to listen. Let me bring down my speed and my note transition. Let's listen.
No, I like it. So excited.
Now, if you do not like the note transition, sometimes you can get, if something's not being tracked properly, you see this note tolerance, you can bring this up, and as you can notice, it slides things around. So if I bring it up to, let's say, 37, really high, it basically grabs more blobs and it says, you know what, for the analysis, these notes should be together. However, the lower you go, it'll create more notes, as you can see, and that can give you a lot of jumping around. So I stick around 37, somewhere around there. And if something isn't being pitched correctly, I will adjust this first and see if maybe that fix it. By listening, and I'm like, you know what, on the end here, it sounds like this note carries out too long, so I'll adjust this down, and you can see it kind of shortens it, as you can see. I'm going to keep it around 30. So here we go.
No, I like it.
So I'm going to listen all the way through.
So excited.
Make sure everything is pitched correctly.
Oh, it feels so erotic. Glasses with that hypnotic.
Everything has been pitched correctly. I'm going to move to the next one and ensure that that one's pitched correctly.
No, I like it. So excited. Oh, it feels so erotic.
Don't worry about that low crack. That's just because I'm recording the tutorial. You would not hear that noise, more than likely. Now, actually, I wasn't even listening to that one. I was listening to this one. So you would listen to this one, make sure it sounds good, and I'm pretty sure they do. But then you need to hear them together, because you need to make sure that both of these have been tracked and they both sound the same, because you sung them the same. You sung the exact same notes. You need to ensure that it has tracked the exact same pitch and nothing goes off. So let's listen. They are both now enabled.
No, I like it.
Actually, I think I didn't correct this one, so let me correct the pitch on this one. So I'll bring that down, bring this one down to here. Let's listen.
No, I like it. So excited.
So you're hearing cracking because it's correcting pitch. I got this recording thing going on, and it's using some processing power. But you need to listen through.
Feels so erotic. Glasses with the hypnotic.
Now here's when you know you have a problem. Let's say if something's off. Let's say if I go into this event here, click on this, I go to the actual notes, and we have something like this. Listen to how that sounds. Give myself some buffer room.
No, I like it.
Did you hear that? You should have been able to hear that, all right? Everyone has a natural ear for when something is off. If you notice, I'll do another one because some of you probably aren't trained on that yet. Maybe you just didn't hear it. I'll bring these up, okay? So let's do that. Let's listen.
No, I like it. So excited.
So something's wrong there. It sounds dissonant. It doesn't sound correct. So I know that there's something incorrect there. So I'd come in here and I'd ensure that they both sound the same. And I'm just going to undo this. So you do your editing until you have them both sounding the same.
No, I like it.
Now, I always sing it exactly the same way, and I rarely ever run into an issue. If it's an issue, it's not with me, because I'm perfect. Just kidding. It's with waves tuned mono, and the way I sung it, it probably didn't track the correct pitch. So once you have them both sounding the exact same way, which is very important, here is the secret to the effect. Some of you may know this and some of you don't. All you need to do is bring it down an octave. How do you do that? Well, I'll open my waves tuned mono for this event here. Make sure everything is selected. And that really doesn't matter because we're going to mess with the waves tune shift, global shift right here. It's this little thing here. Now the waves tune light version does not have this right here, which is why you need the full version. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this down a full octave. Now it says 1200 because it's going in C-E-N-T-S, like money, like cents. But cents in this term is a semitone, which is from this white key to this black key is a semitone, and then from this black key to this white key is a semitone. Within this semitone, however you want to say it, from this white key to this black one, on the keyboard, it's just one semitone jump. There's no in between. Well, with vocals, there can be. You can be off just a little bit. Okay, and between these two keys is 100 cents. There are 100 cents between a semitone. So basically, to bring it all down, you basically shift it down an octave. So it's going to be what's called in unison. In other words, it's the exact same notes, but they are an octave down. So where this is the C, D, E, F, G key right here, if you go down an octave to the other G key, it's going to be really low in pitch. And this is what it will sound like. I'm going to mute this. So we did the global detune shift for that, for an octave. You got to do a full octave because it still needs to be in key. And this will just make it go an octave lower.
No, I like it. So excited.
So you're like, oh, what the fuck is that? That don't sound cool. Well, that's because we haven't added compression, we haven't added EQ, we haven't added reverb, and it's not mixed in with the other vocal. When it comes in with the other vocal, it will have that robotic type sound. You're going to need to do the same thing to this one. So I'll open this one. I'll ensure that everything is good to go. Okay. And you don't have to click the select all because this shift right here, it does everything. Everything going out of this plugin is shifted by this. Now, if you don't do it the correct amount and you try something like this, you can experiment with this too. I'm just going to make sure it's selected, bring it up. I'll just go this much right here.
No, I like it.
You can even get less of the effect. However, that's going to take some music theory knowledge because whatever you shift, you're going to need to make sure you're shifting the correct amount, all right? If you want to shift down a perfect fifth or you want to shift down a certain amount, it's all going to come down to transposition theory and some other stuff. So if you don't know music theory, it's going to be kind of hard. I usually don't mess around with that because I don't need to. I just want a full octave down, so I just go all the way down to 1200, and that gives you this sound. Now, I'm not in stereo. I will come back in stereo later so you can hear it, but these would be panned left and right, and we'll go over that shortly.
No, I like it.
With the corrected vocal up here.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Of course, these would not be that loud. They're only loud right now because I have not done my mixing, so the volume's full volume. Here's a quick tip, and that is when you have vocals that are the same left and right, all right, because this is going to be panned, this is going to be panned left, right, and they say the exact same thing. When it comes to waves tune or pitch correction programs, when they're panned, if they sound the exact same, sometimes you'll have a phase issue, and the stereo image of those vocals will collapse to a mono, so it'll sound like it's in the center, even though you want them panned left and right. So in order to prevent that, you need to change the pitch characteristics, and how you do that is, I might change this to 1 and 17, and then this one needs to be set differently to, let's say, 0 and 4. I wouldn't want this one 1 and 17 also. I want them to sound different. But remember, before you ever mess with those knobs, you need to ensure you select all. So once that's done, I'm going to render these. And I can, after rendering, I could save this and always come back and I could undo the render. I can restore them. That's why I love this program. So I'm going to render it. But I always, after I render, I save. So I'm going to save. All right. The reason why is because I've had Studio One crash, and some of your other programs may crash when you render a wave effect. Okay. I'm going to come here. I'm going to render this one. And then I'm going to come here and I'm going to render this one. So they've all been rendered. And now if I file, save, I could close this session, and I could always come back and open it. Here they are. As you can see, they got the render. I can restore them and do more editing if I need to, but I'm going to re-render it. So that is the beauty of this program. Always after you render, you want to re-listen. So let's re-listen to this.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these classes with the hypnotic.
So we know it's good. However, it doesn't sound all awesome because we haven't done the mixing, which we'll get to later. So that's how I did that portion. Once I get to the mixing, you'll see how I make it sound nice and pretty. All right, so we got that out of the way. Now, what you're seeing over here is my JBridge plugins. This is the 64-bit version of Studio One. So over here, I use JBridge in order to use my 32-bit plugins. But I'm going to slide down here to my Waves section so that in case I got to use one of those. We're going to now do these. And I'm going to use Melodyne for this. And you need to make sure you have the newest version of Melodyne plugin. Now, how this works is Studio One actually incorporates Melodyne editing into its right-click function. So I can go edit with Melodyne. And it'll scan it and it'll bring this up. Now, what it looks like when it scans is something like this. I'm going to right-click this one. Edit with Melodyne. It's scanning, and there we go. It scanned that vocal. Now, if ever it scans your vocal and it looks like this, one straight line, that means for some reason Melodyne didn't do the correct algorithm. It did the percussive algorithm. You need to make sure it's for vocals melodic, and then you will have the correct what it needs to be. But I'm going to remove Melodyne. That was just a demonstration. I'm not going to use it right there. Here's Melodyne on all these vocals. Okay. Now, in order to remove Melodyne, again, you can just remove Melodyne. But we're going to go in here, and what happens is for these actual events, is it actually puts Melodyne as a plugin, as you can see here, on that event. But it does it all for you. You don't really have to drag and drop it. It does it automatically. But we need to edit Melodyne for each one, and we need them all to sound the same. But we're not just going to correct the pitch. We're also going to do what's called formant correction, F-O-R-M-A-N-T. Now, before we do the formant correction, we need to actually correct the pitches of all these vocals, right? So I'm going to solo this top track here, double-click to bring up Melodyne. That's how it works in this program anyway. And I need to set up Melodyne. Well, first off, like I said, if it's been percussive, it's like this. You don't need it like that. You need melodic. So we got melodic. It's detected the pitches. And now we need to set up Melodyne. So the first thing you need to do, and you might as well do this to all of them so you don't forget, pitch, scale snap. That means it's going to snap to the scale of F. Oh, shit. What's going on here? Well, you need to make sure your key is correct. So it's not F minor, F sharp minor. That's not the key. I need F minor. If this was in the key of G major, I'd select the G key and go to G major. So now, whenever I correct these pitches, they'll only correct the G major, but I'm in F minor, so I'm going to go F minor. So I got my key set. I got my scale snap set, so it'll snap to the scale of F minor. I will close this one and make sure I do it to all of them. Make sure you do this because you don't want to fuck up. This one detected F minor, and that's correct. I'll make sure that this is on scale snap also. I'll go to this one, F minor. Sometimes it does detect the correct key, scale snap. If it has enough notes, it'll detect the correct key. So I know all these are set up, and now I can just do my editing. You want to make sure you go through and do that for all of them because you don't want to go in here and start messing around and you don't have it set to scale snap and it's not set to F minor. So let's do this one first. Go in here. You can right-click in this area and go select all, or you can go edit select all up here. But it's easier to work in this little area. So I'll right-click, select all, and then I want to grab my note tool. Now what's going to happen is they're all selected. When I double-click with my note tool, they're all going to basically snap on pitch. Boom. They're all snapped on pitch. Okay. Now we are only monitoring with this one. We're only listening to this one. So let's hear that.
Come on, let's get this party started.
So it's on key. However, there's something missing, and that is the effect. To get the effect with Melodyne, okay, for the smooth autotune people trying to learn smooth autotune, you need to go to your pitch modulation tool. So all I'm doing is I'm right-clicking here, and this stays open when you right-click. I can move all around the screen. I'm not holding the right mouse click button. And I just hover over this, hover over the pitch modulation tool that we need, and I left-click to select it. Now, there's two ways you can do this. I can click and drag, or I can double-click and it'll smooth it out. This little line you see here, this pitch line, that's what it's going to smooth out, and it'll give you that really robotic type sound that, you know, the auto-tune type sound. Now, if I double click it, it smooths it out 100%.
Come on, let's get this part.
And you heard a crack. That's because I got this stuff going with my recording software. So yeah, you can do that. Now if I double click again, it'll go back to normal. Now you can also click and drag. Now when you click and drag, you're going to hear the pitch of wherever you are. It's so when you're doing your tuning, you can actually hear the pitch that you're tuning to, and you're going to hear that right now. So I'm going to drag.
Come on.
You can also drag that way. However, I'm going to go back to normal, and I'm going to go all the way. With the top one, when it comes to center, left, and right, with the top one, I go all the way. So I just double click it, and it's all the way. Got that one. That one's good to go. Let's move down to this next one. I will solo this one. I will mute this one. I will double click this one. Here it is. I'll right click, select all. I'll right click, select my pitch tool, and I will double click, thereby correcting all of them. On this one, I will grab my pitch modulation tool. I will also double click to go all the way. So that's all the way flat with the pitch modulation. On this last one, now that's going to be panned left, pre-hook left, and this one's going to be my pre-hook right. So with this one, I do the same thing. However, I do one thing different. I go select all, pitch, double click, right click, pitch modulation, double click. Okay, but here's what I do differently. You can drag this line. So I'm just going to drag it. I'm talking about a little bit. So I'm going to watch this line, and you're going to hear it as I drag. Maybe not. Oh, it's because it's muted. There's normal. There's double clicked. Just a little bit. I just drug it a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this pitch modulation, this pitch drift tool, and it's real. I'm going to drag it a lot so you can see what's happening. But if you look at the end of this note and the end of this note and the end of this note, it's kind of like a note transition tool type thing, but it's correcting. There's some drift. You see how this note goes down? There's a little line in there. Let's zoom in if we can. What does this do? It brings the note blobs bigger. See inside here? This little line? That's your drift. It's still drifting a little bit. I can straighten that out some more by dragging down, okay? So I will change this just a little bit. I'll just drag it around a little bit to change the pitch drift just a tad. That'll give this exact one over here just a slight different sound. So the only thing I did different to this one was my pitch modulation tool. I did 100%, but then I kind of dragged it a little bit, and then I changed the pitch drift just a tad. That'll give it a different sound because when I pan these left and right, just so there's no phase issues and it doesn't collapse the mono, it stays stereo. So that is how I did that, but now for the all-elusive formant correction. So let's listen to this and make sure these are all the same. You always have to do this. You need to listen to them and make sure they've all been corrected the same.
Come on, let's get this party started.
You heard a little crack there. Now, if you double click here, let's just say that I use my pitch tool and you corrected them and something sounds like, let's go undo that. You hear this when you play it.
Come on, let's get.
Incorrect. That's not what you want, okay? Someone double click that. Edit. I can't undo that, so for some reason. Retarded. Let's bring these back where they were, so everything's back the way it needs to sound.
Come on, let's get this party started.
I sung it the same. Melodyne did me good, and I was good to Melodyne because I did it with Autotune real time, made it real smooth, and it corrected everything just the way I needed it. Everything sounds the same. There's no notes that are off. If one note's off, it'll throw off the whole effect, so you need to make sure that all the notes and everything sounds the same, and that's where people are going to have a problem. This comes down to everybody thinks that, oh, anybody can do Autotune. Okay, everybody can do this effect, but it does take some skill and talent to sing the exact same way through Autotune. You got to have your ear in tune with it, so it's going to take some practice, guys. So we know it sounds the same. Now let's get the formant correction. So formant correction, and when you're also doing your preview for your listen, make sure that you don't have any panning. Make sure that they're all panned to the center. That way you can hear them all together on top of each other right up the center, and then you'll be able to hear if there's any changes in any of the notes. If you have them panned left and right, you're going to have an issue hearing them perfectly. You want them all down the center. So I don't mess with my panning just yet when I'm doing my editing. Here comes the formant correction to create the effect. I'm going to mute these. This is where you're going to need a paper and a pencil. Not right now, just when you're doing it. And I'm going to zoom in more to where I can see all my notes. And how this works is there's a formant correction tool right here. And you can also see it right here. There's my pitch tool. There's my formant tool. How this works is I'm going to bring this up and you're going to hear it.
Come on, now let's get it.
What this does is it changes like, it's like throat modeling. It changes the sound of the person's tonality. It's still the same pitch. It's just a different voice. Now, in order to drag this, you might be tempted to click here and try and drag, but nothing's what the fuck? It's because you can't do that. Edit, select all. You have to actually, and you're going to do this a couple times when you're messing around, you're going to try and grab this. You need to make sure you always come down to the pitch, all right? To the actual pitch blob, and you drag from there.
Come on.
Now, you can give yourself a different sound by going down.
Come on, now let's get this party started.
It sounds like someone with a deeper voice. However, it's still the same pitch. Awesome, huh? So I'm going to undo that. So we're back to where we started. Here's how you get the effect, though. I want certain words to be different formant correction. So let's listen.
Come on, now let's get it.
Let, get.
Come on, now let's get it.
So let, get. I want, come on, let. I want get to start getting higher. So if I select get, if you look over here in this little thing, it says +9. All right. Everything's still corrected, so I need to do undo. Let me undo this right quick. To where everything was back to where it was. There it was in the center. All right. I think you can also do this. If you double click it, it will automatically bring it back to. So if you fuck up and you're like, oh shit, I fucked up, double click the note or select all of them and then double click any one of these and it will correct it. So we're back to where we started. Here we go. Take your pen and pad out and you write your words down because you're going to need to do it the same across all three of these. This one. The exact same words, the exact same formant correction. All right, this is where the boring part starts, but maybe it's going to be fun for you guys because you guys are going to learn it. So come on, let's. Sometimes you got to split words, so I'll show you how to do that too. So
come on, let's get it.
Well, I'm not going to have to do it in this instance because it actually split up my words the way it needs to be.
Come on, let's get it.
And I can zoom in and out with this to see the note blobs. So here we go.
Come on, let's get it.
I want this whole first part to be the same format, but I want this to come up a little bit, and I do this in steps. So I'll go up.
Yeah.
If you look over here in this little area right here, I'll click right there. The sense. It's not really talking about pitch. It's talking about format. I'm going to drag 100. Around 100. 104 is okay. If you want to be real meticulous on this, you can. I'm going to go 100, around 107. It doesn't matter. So,
come on, let's get it.
See how it went up a little bit? That's 100. And then,
come on, let's get it.
This right here, I want to go to 200. It's up to you how high you go. But if I use a round number, it's simpler. All right. And then let's see how that sounds.
Come on, let's get this part.
I'm going to go up to 300 with this. So 300. And you can actually select both notes and do them both together.
Come on, let's get this party started.
And then I'll come back down to 200. And this will be. Now, I can't drag it up here and expect it to be 200. You need to go off your little thing over here. If I try and drag it there, that's not 200. That's 300 now. So it goes relative to the actual note. And if you try and click here and drag this, it's not going to work. You got to click this. See, I just tried to do it and I fucked up. So you're going to be like, fuck, I can't move it. Oh, yeah, I need to come down here. So I'm going to go this one back down to 200 also. And this is how it sounds.
Come on, let's get this party started.
All right, this one probably needs to go up. See, I tried to do it right there. And you can go even more. If I double click both of these, you can go more crazy.
Come on, let's get this party started.
Okay, use your own creativity to come up with your own stuff. You can even go down.
Come on, let's get this party.
Why you would do that, I don't know. It's up to you. You're going to do with what you want to do. So I'm going to double click these. These need to go to, I believe, 300. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, right? So on my paper, I know that these words here.
Come on, let's get
Get is 100. This is 200. Pa-ah.
Come on, let's get this party.
This should go up, so this needs to go up.
Come on, let's get this party started.
Something like that, right? Whatever you want to do. So now that that's good, you need to remember how you did that. So I'd write on the paper, I'd write my words, and I'd write, come on, let's get this party. And above my words,
come on, let's get.
Above get, I would write 100. This, I'd write 200. You get the idea, so you can remember. Because I need to do that exact same thing for these other ones. So that one's done. Open this one. Right-click, Formant tool. These two right here, make sure I click right here. 100 on these. 200 on these. Now here's where I'm going to do the split tool. Watch.
Come on, let's get this party started.
You notice how it selected this as one note? I need this to be split, so I'm going to use my split tool. Double click. And when you do this, it kind of, I don't know why it does that. It throws it off pitch. I wish it didn't do that, but then I got to come here and I got to select these two and recorrect them back on pitch. Okay, so make sure you do that. Don't forget to do that. So now these are all separated the way I need it to be. So you got to see some real life, down to earth, how that shit works. I need these three to be together. That's the it's the audi part. I need this to be 300. And then this one, for some reason I couldn't see what that was. I think when you select them all, you can't really see the number. You can't. That's gay. Let's see if I can do it on these. Yeah, I can do it on this. So there's a little glitch that you're seeing right now for some reason. It's not allowing me, I guess, because maybe I split it. I never have had this issue before, but it needs to go to 300. So I'll go to this one, and I'll just do it one at a time. So right here, I'll go 300. If any of you guys, you know about production, sometimes stupid shit happens like this. No problem. There's always a way around it. And then this one needs to go to 200. And then we're going to go back down to 100. So it should be the same as the other one. So I'll solo these together.
Come on, let's get this party. Come on, let's get this party started.
All right, we're good to go. And then I'm going to bring in this other one. I can actually have all these going because I want to make sure they all sound the same. Go in here. Let's do this right quick. So I right-click, Formant tool. I grab these two, and I go up to... I don't know why it's not letting me see. Right here, I got to split this one, so I'll go here, split this right here, double click. I'll grab my pitch tool, double click these two to bring them back into pitch. And then I will grab my Formant tool again, and then I will bring these three up to 300. See, this time it is letting me see. You guys should be looking over here too, because this is where I'm looking at my sense. I'm bringing it up to 300. And then this one over here. So you see where I'm, right here where I'm clicking, guys. That's where you also need to look. That's where you can see. I just grab it, and then I look over here, and I bring it up. This needs to go 200. You don't need to be exact. If you want to be really finicky and be exact, you can. And then this one needs to go down to 100. So my sequence is 1, 2, 3, 1. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 for those exact words. So let's hear how that sounds. They're all soloed.
Come on, let's get this party started.
Booyah! That's how I did it. That's how you can do it. Now you can go in here and you can fuck around and you can, do something else. Let me grab all of these, and I will actually, if I bring everything down, let's say right here.
Come on, let's get this party started.
Of course, I wouldn't do that. Why would you do that? I do not know.
Come on, let's get this.
All I'm doing is I'm showing you another example. So I'm not being exact. I'm just bringing these down to hear how it sounds.
Come on, let's get this party started.
You can go either way. So there you folks. There you folks. There you go. That's how you do that. That's how you do the formant correction, but we're not done. I got some other stuff to show you. Now, for this next part of the hook, I did strictly waves tune. All right, I didn't want that going on, any of that vocoding stuff going on with here. However, there is some harmonies that are automated. I'm going to go into those, so you're going to learn how to do the harmonies. But all I did was I came in here and I went waves tune mono on this one, enable the effect here, enable the effect here, enable the effect here. Basically the same thing over again. I brought in my waves tune mono as right there. By the way, I rendered these. Render the Melodyne, render the Melodyne, or render the Melodyne. They all sound the way I want them to sound. And then here, I would go File, Save, so I can save and everything will be saved, because sometimes when I render, it will crash if I'm using Waves plugins. I don't fucking know why, whatever. I know it's not the program, it's something to do with the Waves plugin. Now let's work on these, and you guys already know how to do it, but basically I bring in my Waves tune, okay? And I'll bring my Waves tune in on this one, Waves tune mono, onto the event, and then I'll bring it onto this one, waves tune. Same process, I set it up for F minor. You guys can see how quickly this rolls. Go here, double click, F minor. You make sure, you don't have to set this first, I just do it just so it's set. I go through here so everything's the way it needs to be, and I don't forget it. You can actually just track right now, track the pitch, and then come in here and set this afterwards. But I like to do everything before. You need to have a steady way of working so you don't forget nothing. And then I'll track the pitch. So let's just
started. Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down. The club is on fire. Ain't got no time for haters. Too busy burning paper. Throw it up, watch it fall from the sky. Now you know why this club's on fire.
So there we go. We have now tracked these. Watch me work in real time, folks. Pretty quick with this. Open this one. Select all. And I will now bring this down to, let's say, 1. I listen to this while I do this, but I'm just doing this for you guys. And I will solo this one because I need to make sure that my note transition, not note transition, my note tolerance is correct. So I'll listen.
Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down. The club is on fire. Ain't got no time for haters. Too busy burning.
Right there. Did you hear that? That was off. So somewhere over here, something isn't right.
Too busy burning.
Busy. I go flat or something.
Haters. Too busy burning. Haters.
That should be the same, so I'm going to bring this up. Get to see some real time.
Haters, too busy burn.
This note right here should be up. You see how I actually thought it might be up because of this little line here? Let me see if I can zoom into that. Zoom in.
Haters, too busy.
This is your zoom. For some reason, it should have probably split these, and if you watch this, all right, if I select all, there's 2 ways you could do this. I could either grab it and move it, but maybe I should try my note tolerance first. Boom. Fixed it. You see that? I grabbed my note tolerance because if you look at this, it's detecting it as this as a whole note, but it needs to split that. So if I try my note tolerance first, I'll bring this up to, let's say, my magic number is like 37. All right? Sometimes it doesn't work, but you just need to watch it and see when it gets to where it needs to be. And usually if you have one problem and you fix that one, all the other ones will be corrected too. So let's slide out here. Give it a little listen.
Haters, too busy burning.
There it goes. It went busy. I didn't want it like this.
Haters, too busy burning.
It went down too soon. I need it to go up. Busy. All right, you got to have an ear for this. You would know because you sung it and you know your melody.
Haters, too busy burning paper.
I want to go busy burning paper.
Haters, too busy burning paper. Throw it up, watch it fall from the sky. Now you know why this club's on fire.
Everything sounds good there. That one's been fixed. You got to see some real-time action on that. Me fixing an issue with the vocal that I heard ahead of time. So then I'll come down to this one. Select all. I'll click play. I will bring this down to, let's say 1. I'll bring this down, let's say the 3. So and then I'll listen to that one. But before I do, let me go over here. I'll open this one, select all, grab this. I'll bring this all the way down to 0 and this down to 4 because I want a different note value and stuff on this one. And then I'm going to solo this one, and I'm going to ensure that this one sounds good.
Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going.
And to save yourself some time, you can actually just open both of these. You know this one's correct, so if you're listening to this and something sounds off, you know that this one's the one that's fucked up. This one here.
Hold your glasses to. Hold your glass.
It looks like there might be an issue. I might have moved this over a little bit or something.
Hold your glasses.
Oh, that's just because it's off a little bit, but that doesn't matter.
Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down. The club is on fire. Ain't got no time for haters.
Right there, did you hear that?
Got no time for.
Something on this one is messed up. Again, it's probably the note transition. The tolerance, because it's set to 20. So I'm going to go make sure it's set to the same number as the other one. What was it set to? If I go on this one, about 33. I'll go set this one to 33. It might fix the problem. If not, we can adjust. This is where you need to have an ear for this kind of stuff, okay? You'll gain the ear over time.
Ain't got no time for haters.
I still hear something a little down in there, but it's still on key.
Ain't got no time for.
Hear that no? It sounds flat, even though it's still on key. It just sounds, it's not the same note as the one above it. And then I could check.
Ain't got no time for.
It's this one here.
Ain't got no time for.
This one is incorrect, so I need to go in here.
Ain't got no time.
This one here should have been up. So I'm going to go here and bring this up.
Ain't got no time.
No, that's not it. Let's see. It needs to be split somewhere. So
ain't got no time for.
Here's what needs to happen. You get to see another real-time edit here. So this is where you need to listen and start using your tools. I need to come here. I need to split this, all right? And I need to come back to my note tool and select this one. This needs to come up.
Ain't got no time.
And then I could drag the edge here.
Ain't got no time for hate. Ain't got no time. Ain't got no time. Ain't got no time. Ain't got no time for hate.
There we go. So that's really all that needed to happen. I probably didn't need to split that, but I was fishing around, so let's go here. This needs to be up here.
Ain't got no time for haters.
There we go. So I fixed that. So this one needs to be the same way. And this is where it gets kind of boring and some of you might get frustrated.
Ain't got no time for.
This one needs to come up too, so I'll click here. Same note.
Ain't got no time for haters.
Boom. So I'll listen through.
Ain't got no time for haters. Too busy burning paper. Throw it up, watch it fall from the sky. Now you know why this club's on fire.
Boom. Fixed. Go to this one. Leave those going, okay? Because you want to hear them all together. You know that these are good, so if something doesn't sound right, it's going to be this one down here, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be fucked up. So
ain't got no time for haters.
And you might not be able to hear it, so what you might want to do is just have the one on top.
Ain't got no time for haters. Too busy.
And I'll just go ahead and bring this up to select all, and I'll bring this up to, what I pressed this for was to bring it into view. I'll go up to 33 on this one, somewhere around there. So I know that that's not going to be an issue.
Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down. The club is on fire. Hey.
I see something going on here, and what that is I didn't correct this, so it sounds kind of stupid. So I'm going to bring this down to 1, 0, 5. Here we go.
Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down. The club is on fire.
Now I heard something there, but it's not really a big issue.
No, it's going down. The club is on.
Actually, I was just hearing shit.
Club is on fire. Ain't got no time for haters. Ain't got no time for.
This one here is fucked up somewhere.
Ain't got no.
Right there, same place.
Ain't got no time for haters. Too busy burning paper. Throw it up, watch it fall from the sky. Now you know why this club's on fire.
Boom. They all sound the same. I'll play them all together.
Ain't got no time for haters. Too busy burning paper. Throw it up, watch it fall from the sky. Now you know why this club's on fire.
That's how I did those. Let's move on to the harmonies. Once I'm done doing the editing for the hook, the effects and all that, I create a new folder on my desktop and I save that session to a new folder and I call it Hook Done. The reason why is because the hook is done editing with the pitched effects. Now I want to just get a quick mix. Why do I want to get a quick mix? The reason why I want to get a quick mix is because I want to hear how the harmony is going to sound mixed in, because we're going to create harmonies next. So I'm going to open this session here. Sometimes you get that. All right, so now I'm going to show you over here my hook. Scroll over to the hook. Let's go up. Here's the hook. So this is where we left off. We have the hook done, all edited. I'm going to go over here and I'll go over this stuff shortly, but I'm going to turn these off. I'll tell you what those are shortly. Now, I've already shown you guys should have watched it. It's the Studio One PreSonus tracks, buses, sends tutorial. And you will be up to speed, and I don't have to show you and explain everything. So you should have watched that. If you haven't, you need to go watch it right now on my YouTube channel, or else you're going to get lost on this. I did that so that you guys can understand how that works, so when you watch this tutorial, you won't be lost. So you'll know if I say this track here is going out to my PHC bus. See my input and output? It's going out to my PHC bus, which is pre-hook center. And this one are going out to my pre-hook left, right bus. All right, so let's go look at those buses real quick. You guys know how to create them, you know how to name them, you know all that. There's pre-hook center and my pre-hook left, right. Why am I doing that? Why do I have these going to a pre-hook left, right bus, and why is this going to a separate bus? The reason why is because I want to treat these with a different compression and EQ and reverb setting than this, okay? Because this is a different element. All my elements go to different buses. So these two are both going to a bus. This is panned down the center. If you look here, I got 0 panning. It's center. And then this one is L80, 80 to the left. And then this one is R80, 80 to the right. That means my panning is done on my tracks, as you guys already know. Because if this is going to the LR bus and LR bus, I can't go to my bus and pan it. It's got to be panned from the track. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, why didn't I just do the effects on this track? That's because this is a mono track. Now, I could just go here and make a stereo, and I could put some stereo effects on there and dial in some stereo send, but I'm not going to do that. I like to have all my buses next to each other and all of my elements next to each other for easy, basically organized working, basically. So let's go in here one at a time and check these out. As I said, I like to do my harmonies and listen to how I'm doing my harmonies with everything going. So this dry.
Oh girl, you know I...
Here's the effects that I put on there. I put a Pro EQ. I'll turn those on. I got the Pro EQ. I just dialed in some quick EQ to get rid of some of the low frequency and a little dip right here. I have a full, unless you guys got this as a package deal, the DVD goes over all the theory about how to do EQ and what all these filters are. So there we go. I got the EQ right there. And I'm also using this plugin here, which I really love. It is the VX64 Cakewalk Channel Strip. And what I'm using on here is the de-esser, the compressor, the tube equalizer. I just do a quick mix. I'm really quick at this plugin. I'm not going to go over how it works just yet. I'll go over like some of the tricks that I use with this shortly. But I'm basically just got some compression going on. I got the tube equalizer giving me some EQ. If you notice right here, here's the EQ. I got some more low end taken away, and I got the de-esser going. Right here, getting rid of some of the S's. And I got a doubler going. Let me show you this doubler. Now, you're not going to be able to hear because I'm not in stereo. When I come back to stereo, I'm going to go over all this stuff in stereo so you can see how that works.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these glasses with a hip.
Now what this doubler does is it's an automatic doubler. When I come back to stereo, it's a really cool this plugin's awesome. I use this plugin a lot. I love it. I'll show you what that does later. So I got the sound that I'm looking for, all right? And then over here on my hook left and right, I'll do a little mix for those. So let me turn those on.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Okay, so I'll turn this on and this on. Now all the gain is handled inside of this plugin. Basically, I had to bring those down.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Hear how they're really low now? So let me show you.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these.
Okay, so there's that. Now I want some reverb on there. So what I did was I'm using the 2C Breeze. It's by 2C Audio. And it's not the one I'm going to use for the track. It's just the one I wanted to throw in here because it's really low on CPU. And I used it on this session. This is the one I actually used because I just need something quick to hear it with some reverb. So I'm going to turn that on. You guys know how these work because you watched the video, free one. And I came in here and I dialed in my hook reverb. There it is. I'll bring this in. Here's my hook reverb. Now let's hear that.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
So there's some reverb. Let me mute this one.
Oh girl, you know I like it. Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so...
I dial it in, but of course I dial it with the instrumental going. So let's go turn this instrumental.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
All right, so we're good there. Let's go back to my mix window. So here we are. I got this sounding the way I want it to sound. Obviously, I don't have no reverb on these. I don't know why I don't have any reverb. I'll throw some reverb on there real quick. I come here. I go to my hook reverb, dial it in. I'll mute this. I'll solo this.
No, I like it. No, I like it. So excited. Oh, it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these glasses with that hypnotic.
So again, this isn't the final mix. I'm just trying to get a good sound. So there we go. We got a good sound going. So once I get the sound I want, now it's time to actually do the harmonies. Let me close this so I can get some more screen here. I don't know why I haven't been closing that. To do the harmony, it's an automated harmony. And it's on this track alone.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited.
And here's how I do this, okay? So first I need to get the harmony on here. And since it's going to be, I want the harmonies to be a stereo effect. This is a little trick I do, all right? If you can't do it in your plugin, you're going to have to create a send effect for this. But I can do it in my program, so I'm going to create a stereo track here. I have now made this a stereo track. That is because if you can't do this, create a new track, drop it on there, reroute the track to your bus, and now you have a stereo track with those vocals on it. The reason why is because I'm going to create harmonies and I want them to have stereo, but I put the harmony and automate it on the actual track. So the harmony I'm going to use, the harmony generator, which is by Antares. Here it is over here. The harmony engine. All right, it's the 32-bit version, but I have JBridge. I JBridged it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag this onto this actual track here so that any vocal on here will be affected by the harmony engine. So let's do that. Drag this bad boy over here. Big ass plugin. All right. But we need to set this up for the settings that I'm going to use. So here's the settings that I use. I'm not going to go over the entire plugin, but you just need to know what I'm going to use. So recap of what's going on here. I basically turned this track to stereo and I have put the harmony engine on there. Now you're not going to hear the stereo effects because this is a mono tutorial so far. We will come back to stereo. So as I open this, I'll play this.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
You hear all kinds of harmony stuff going on. Basically, these are all your harmonies right here. This one, this one, this one, and this one. And you can adjust the harmony by messing with this. And here's how this works. I want a low and a high harmony. I want a low of 8 VB, another low of 8 VB, and I want a high of 8 VA, 8 VA. And then since it's on a stereo track, watch this. You notice how this is a stereo track? If I turn it mono, look at these pan sections down here. So let me turn this back stereo. Boom. Open this up. Just a quick familiarization with this. This is my input. I can solo the input only. I can solo just this harmony. This is a harmony strip. This whole strip here is a harmony strip. This is another harmony strip. You see voice 1, voice 2, voice 3, voice 4. All right. And I can mute any one of these that I want. However, you notice this pan knob that's right here? This pans that harmony. So I can pan it left or right. Now, if it's a mono track, the plugin knows, and now I can't do any panning of those harmonies. I want to be able to pan my harmonies, so that's why I created a stereo track out of this mono one. So now any plugin I put on here will operate in stereo mode as long as I drop the stereo plugin on there. And there we go. So now it knows it's in stereo. What I want to do is I want my high harmonies panned about 50% to the left and 50% to the right. And I'm going to pan these the same amount, about 50% to the left and 50% to the right, all right, for the harmonies. And my harmonies that I'm going to select are an octave up and an octave down. Now, we already have an octave down with these using the actual onboard effects that's on the clip. But for this, we need to be careful because once I throw these lows on there also, what's going to happen is it's going to increase the sound of these because it's like basically the same thing. So when you have the same of something, when it comes to audio, it's just going to get louder. So here's what we need to do. On this track, open up my harmony generator, and I'm going to listen.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Too loud. All right, so you need to make sure you have your input turned on. I'll mute these so you can hear what happens.
Oh girl, you
I'm playing it right now, nothing's happening.
Oh girl, I like. You've got me.
See that? This is your input. This is the real voice. All right, so you need to make sure you have that turned on. All right. Then, so I'll unmute that.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
I leave that center. Now, because that's the actual vocal right here, it's center. I want it center. I want to keep it center. And then here, I will come to my harmonies. So I'm going to start adjusting those. I'll work on my high harmonies first.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
This is the volume for the harmony. I'll bring those down, let's say -14. Now I'm going to automate these in the end, but I'm just trying to see how they sound.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited.
So I'll go with that just for now. And now I'm going to bring in my low harmonies.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh.
All right, so now you're probably like, well, that sounds like crap because it's all going all the time. You can also adjust your stereo spread here when you're messing with the choir size. We're not messing with the choir size. We are actually just messing with the actual harmonies. I'm not going to get into this choir section, okay? You can turn your choirs on right here. So you guys want to experiment with that, you can. But you adjust your stereo of each harmony with this slider here. You can also mess with the vibrato. You notice that all these have a different, this whole strip has a different setting for each one of these. I usually just leave that default. I don't really need to mess with that. The thing that I do kind of mess with is the timing variation and pitch variation. The pitch variation means that each one of these vocal harmonies, because it's actually creating a new voice for each one, based on this,
Oh girl, you
it takes this pitch and it basically duplicates the vocal with inside the plugin, and it creates whatever I set my harmony to, and it corrects the pitch and creates a copy. And then I can pan it, and then I can also adjust the volume. I can solo it, and then I can also adjust the vibrato section, which I'm not going to, and I can pan it. Okay, so, but what I want to do is you can also change the throat length. Like I said, I'm not going to go over this plugin. That just changes the sound also, so you can like change the sound of one of these compared to the other, but I'm not going to do that. Like I can make this solo, I guess I will. Let's just fucking do it.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Let's bring these up so you can hear this.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited.
Kind of like a formant correction like we had before. So you might want to dial some of that in to have them sound different. So I'll just do it for shits and giggles. I'll go here and I'll go down here. Okay.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
So it's still the same pitch. It's up an octave, but it is, I got the throat modeling going just a little bit.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
All right. Now, I didn't do that in my effect, so I'm not going to mess with that. But you can to get a different sound. So I'm going to bring these down to about, let's say, -12.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited.
Now, it's not going to be coming the whole time. I don't want the thing to be coming in the whole time like that. I want the harmony to come in on certain parts, which is why we're going to automate it. Now, the pitch variation, as I was saying, is, I kind of went off track, is each one of these harmonies, this pitch variation, since they're copies, what it will do is it will change the variation in the pitch modulation. Okay, we're getting kind of technical here. And the algorithm and the tracking, it's all handled with inside the plugin. It will change the variation between each of these so that they don't sound the same. If you bring it all the way down,
oh girl, you know I,
they'll sound more together if I bring them all the way.
oh girl, you know I like it.
It gives them all of them their own little pitch variation, so it can create some, you could call it humanization, where it sounds more like a human did it. If you want to make it sound more natural, you can add some more pitch variation. I don't tend for this effect to add a lot of pitch variation, so I'll just leave it there. The timing variation is the variation between each of these harmonies that it's creating, the timing variation between all the notes. And this is, again, all handled within the plugin, all right? But let's say the note on the word hey for the high harmony, just this one, might have a small delay compared to, well, actually, the whole thing. This track might be delayed. I believe in this plugin, it handles it like this. This copy that is creating inside the plugin and that is pitching for an octave up, because I set it here for an octave up, this actual one here, this little track, pretend like this is a track with inside the plugin, for this vocal is being delayed, let's say 4 milliseconds. This one here might be getting delayed 15 milliseconds. Those small delays allow you to pan it. It's called the Haas effect. You need to go research that. Haas. Now, I talk about this in my DVD, so if you have the DVD, you might hear about it. In order for you to hear the left and right difference, they need to have a delay so that they aren't coming out the left and the right speaker at the same time so that you can hear them in stereo, which you're not going to hear here just yet because, like I've said 100 times, we're going to see that later. So, that's what the timing variation does. It adds small delays to all of these different strips, okay? I mess around with this to sound.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Here's a lot of timing.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
Everything's kind of like way off time with itself, but not a lot. You might like that sound.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
The transition rate.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
You know that smooth autotune, the autotune effect where it's kind of like a retune speed? This kind of makes it sound more pitchy.
Oh girl, you know I like it. Oh girl, you know I like it. Oh girl, you know I like it.
Hear how that sounds really sloppy?
Oh girl, you know I like it. Oh girl, you know I like it.
This is like a retune speed from Autotune. This is like a pitch modulation controller within Melodyne. This is their version. So I'll bring my transition rate down. Let me bring this back down to -12. I always have these the same amount. I'll have my high harmonies the same amount. What the fuck am I doing? There we go.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited.
There we go. That'll keep my harmonies really nice and tight together. Now, you're probably like, well, what the fuck? They all sound the same loudness. What's going on here?
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
If that's the sound you're going for, blam, you got it. But that's not what I'm going for. And there's another thing that's off. Check this out. La la. You need to set your key.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
We are now in the correct key. So I probably should have told you to do that from the beginning, but now you're seeing it. So you need to make sure you set your key.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
So now we're in key. I got my harmonies panned. I'm on a stereo track. You can't hear the panning just yet. I got all this set up. This naturalize, that will just add various off pitch. I believe it makes it like kind of some parts. This is probably pitch drift, as in the Melodyne plugin. It's like a pitch drift type thing. Just going to go like that. I'm not messing with any, that's pretty much, I'm not messing with this vibrato section. You can if you want to mess around with that. And if you want better tracking, you need to make sure you select the correct thing, and that's all in the manual. I'm not going over that.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
So now let's go into the automation. The automation. Let's go into the automation. So let's do the actual automation of the harmony, and this is another reason why I love this program and why I moved to it. Watch how easy I can set up automation. For this track, which has the harmony engine, I want to automate the harmony engine bypass function. You notice when I click, I want you to look right here. Look in this little window where it says bypass harmony engine. Anything I click on in this program that can be automated, it automatically shows up into this little window. Here is the beauty, my friends. Let me make this, it's already small. I'm going to create an automation track. And how I do that is, boom, open up Harmony Engine, click on the whatever I want to automate, which is this bypass function. I'll leave it unbypassed for now. I now will close it. You can still see that my bypass function's up here. Well, you see this little hand? It's like, yo, dude, check out my hand. It's a little white fluffy hand. If I grab this hand, left click, drag, I'm going to drag it up here because I want to be able to see it right next to the vocal, and drop. But bam! What do I got here? I have an automation lane for the bypass function on the plugin. So I can actually automate from this track the bypass on and off. So let's go check that out. Right now it's in auto. I need to be in write mode because I'm going to do some automation. And I'm going to bring the plugin back up. And I can bring the plugin back up by just double clicking on the track. Oh my fucking God, that's awesome. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I got it in write mode and I want to automate the harmony. And here's how this is going to work. While listening to your instrumental, give some buffer time a little bit before.
Oh girl, you know I like.
You can see in write mode it's actually tracking.
Girl, you know I like.
I want to bring the harmony in at certain points. So I'll start here. I'll have the harmony off in the off state. Okay, so look at the track right here. I want it to always be off. I'm going to automate it on when I want it to come on. So let me close this. Let me bring this more into view for this track for you guys. There's the audio that I'm going to mess with. Here's the automation lane. Double click, bring up my harmony engine. I'm just going to mess with this. I'm going to automate this on-off button, basically to bypass.
And demo purposes.
Oh girl, you know I like.
So on Know I Like It, I can actually also watch these because that's where I want my harmonies to come in. Watch. When I click on this to unbypass, it's going to automate up here. So here we go. It's start off like that.
And demo purposes.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these glasses with the hypnotic. Come on, let's get this party started.
So what I have done is I have automated my harmony, and I'm going to play it now, but I got to put this to read mode.
And demo purposes.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited.
So what you're seeing is here it's muted. When it comes down here, the function is that it is unbypass. I shouldn't say mute. Bypass. It's bypass. It's unbypass. It's bypass. It's unbypass.
And demo purposes.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic.
And what I'm automating is the harmony engine on this track. All right, but I'm doing it here. Sometimes when you do your automation, it might not be automated where you want it to be. So don't look at this stuff like I'm automating this stuff. That's not what I'm automating. I'm actually automating this track. So I'm going to cover this up so you guys aren't getting screwed up here. This vocal is being automated with my harmony. So I'm only bringing the harmony in on certain parts. But to me, it sounds like I didn't catch this automation correctly.
And demo purposes.
Oh girl, you know
no, I want this on No I Like It, so I could just drag this.
Oh girl, you know I like it.
There we go. Maybe a little more. I'll drag it on. It actually snaps to grid too. Watch. See how it snaps?
Oh girl, you know I like it.
So that one's good. And I will basically go along, and now I can just close this because I don't need the harmony engine because it's already being automated. I'm going to go still adjust it, but I just want my automation in there.
You've got me so excited. like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh, if
The reason when you're zoomed in like this, you want to click around is because if I don't, watch this.
oh, it feels so erotic.
If I want to do something here, when I stop, it goes back to where it was. So that's why you saw me click up there.
Oh, it feels.
You become a master at this stuff over time.
Oh, it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these glasses with their hair. None of these glasses with their hair. None
I don't want that breath in there, so I'm just going to...
of these glasses with their hair. Nautic, come on.
And the whole rest of it, I leave the harmony generator on to harmonate that part. To harmonate. New fucking word, guys. Harmonation. The harmonation of vocals. All right, so I got that set. That's how I want my shit to be harmonated. Guys, you can't steal that shit. That's mine. All right, so we're harmonated up. Getting harmonated up in this bitch. Now what we need to do is we need to adjust the sound. That's not the sound I'm going for.
Of these.
So let me start over here.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
I want these up a little bit. But here's what you need to do. When you're doing this, you need to make sure you have these turned on. Because make sure my effects are on for those. Good to go. Pre-hook left, right. Yep, good to go.
Oh, girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited.
The reason why you want that on is because you know how we have these already panned down in octave, and it's also a copy of this. When I'm bringing this one in, it's also bringing in another octave down with these right here. This is an octave down. All right. So it's going to make those other octaves louder. So these will usually be lower.
Oh, girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh, it feels so erotic.
So in reality, to tell you guys a little secret, you guys don't even have to use these.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
Because the other ones are already there. You already have some harmonies going on in the background with these. However, the reason why I like them turned on is because these are being processed from this vocal, which is different from this one, and this one's in the center. However, they're panned to the left and right. This is kind of stuff you need to take in consideration. You see how they're panned left and right? However, it's creating its own type of voice. So it's like I got two other doubles. So I add them just to add some thickness. Now, I'm in mono right now, guys. I'll come back at stereo. You'll hear all this.
Oh, girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh, it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these glasses with their hair. Nautic.
You hear that high-pitched vocal coming in? Now, a lot of people say, oh, the Harmony Engine Evo, it's not a real good generator. It doesn't sound good. You know why? When you go on these internet forums and stuff and you're on there, dudes, check it out. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. There's a lot of people on there that know what the hell they're talking about, but there's a lot of people that judge and they don't even try the shit out. There's people that have probably threw the Harmony Engine on their shit and they're like, oh, this sucks. It doesn't sound like a real harmony. It's all about how you lose what you got. Don't lose what you got. It's how you use what you got. If you know how to use and you really read the manual and you learn it, you can make it sound natural. And though some people can say, yeah, he didn't. Really good people with a real good ear can say, yeah, that's probably not a real harmony. It can sound like one, and people who don't know are going to be like, now you can make this subliminal. Like, I can turn this down a lot to where you'll be like, man, something about that part. So let me turn these down to 19. Turn these down. I'll just turn these off.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
It's there. It's very low, so this is where you come in. You, as an engineer, as a mixer, you choose the sound that you're looking for. And this whole plugin allows you to do that, so I can change my throat lengths.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
I can add some naturalization or pitch drift. I can make this sound natural if I really want to. I'll add some of this.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
Now, what's not going to sound normal is this, because we know that's an effect.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
Now, you should be able to hear that. It sounds... I'll bring this up a little bit.
Oh, girl, you know I like it.
Sounds like I came in an octave above and sang it. Some people would not even know that I just created this fake with a harmony generator. All right. If you want to get even more in depth, you come down here to this pitch amount. All this stuff down here, just, oh man, it just like opens up a whole new door. Okay. So that's how you generate the harmonies. That's how you fake them with the harmony generator. And I will turn these on.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited.
When I do adjustments, it doesn't.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic. Can't get.
As far as gain goes, I think I just hit puberty. As far as gain goes, I usually don't mess with my faders at this point. I handle my gain in here.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited.
And I'm not mixing yet. I'm just trying to hear how my automation sounds. And I'd have no clue how that sounds if I did not have all these effects going. You can't really get a good idea of how it's going to sound if you don't. So let me give you guys a little thing going on here, a little type of recap. But you see this harmony engine here? This harmony engine is on this vocal. This vocal is being affected by the harmony engine before reverb is even being added to the bus. So that's the beauty of doing it this way also. So that's how I create the harmonies. That's how I created the harmony for this portion that you hear on the song.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these glasses with the hypnotic. Come on, let's get this party started.
Boo, yeah, baby. Now, I still got to show you guys how to get that Nate Dogg vibe using a single vocal. I'll show you that trick. You guys might have seen it on my YouTube tutorials. It's a secret plugin called, a send effect called Thickness. And you're going to see the plugin combination I use for that and how I do it. But first off, this Club on Fire premixed and harmonized. How this works is I go in and after everything we've just done is I create a mix. I create a premix and basically think about some plugins I might want to use for reals. Then once I'm done with that, I'll start flying my hooks out and save Club on Fire harmonized. So I'm going to open up this premix, but I'm going to pause the tutorial and come back because there's a lot of plugins. So here we are in the premix session, and the whole purpose behind this session is for one thing, really. This is where I have all of my elements. I have a hook. I have a singing portion type rap. I have a rap for my second verse. So this is really, all this is my second verse, right? And then this is my first verse. And then I have a bridge. Those are all my elements. My elements are pre-hook, hook, first verse, second verse rap, second verse sing. And those are where they are, and these are flown out, copied. You guys know how I did that because I showed that in that free rough session tutorial. So you guys know how to fly hooks. Now, I also got one bridge, and that basically stays where it's at. But what I want to know, and what I do in this session is I do a premix because I want to see, using only the elements I need, how everything sounds without copying everything around just yet. So what I'll do is I'll always work on my hook first, is I'll set up this to be near my hook, which as we've already done, we've already affected everything.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so...
But the volumes aren't correct because I haven't done any mixing on it. What I'll do is I have all my pannings set, so all my pannings are set, 80% left, 80% right. This is the hook. The real hook is down the center. This is hard panned left. This one's hard panned right. These are all going to a single bus because these are all the same vocal saying the exact same thing, the exact same way. And I want them to go to the same bus. So those are all going to the CLR bus. As we've already covered, this goes to the pre-hook center bus. And since these are a different element and they sound different, I got them going to their own bus. All right. So regarding the hook and mixing, the whole purpose behind this is to set up these. And we'll go over more when I start talking about mixing. But do you see these effects here? The thickness, the lead reverb. These are basically my reverbs, my hook reverbs, my delay throws. You might have heard some delay throws on the vocals. That's where I set all this up, and I try and go for the sound. But the main ones I'm concerned with are delay and my thickness. That's where I do in this session. I also have the lead reverb and hook reverb set up for a later session because I do not use this reverb. This also, what I do in here is I set up my slapback delay, which I'll go over later. But the whole purpose behind this session is just to get a good idea for my mix. It's where I actually start mixing and using the plugins that I want to use, except for the reverb. And all these plugins are pretty much the ones that I'm using, but I get more in depth at a later session. So let's talk about this. For my lead vocal, for this session, I start to think about what plugin I want to use, and I'm using Isotope Nectar. And I'm like, you know what? I want to do some compression. I want to do parallel compression. I'll go over this later. We'll go over the parallel compression with this plugin, which is simply freaking amazing. And basically, that's all I'm using this plugin for, because I used to do parallel compression of my lead vocal a different way, and I used to use a Renaissance compressor by Waves, but I'll talk about that during the mixing phase. And then I use the R compressor on the lead stresses. On the ad-libs, I use the Renaissance compressor. So you basically see what's going on here. I got all these different plugins. I come up with an idea of how I want everything to sound, and then we're going to come back and mess around with that. All right, so here we are in another version called Club on Fire Harmonize, as you see up here. And what I did in here was I flew out my hooks. You don't have to see me do that. You should have already watched the tutorial called the Rough Draft Session where I show you how to fly hooks. I've basically done that already. I put everything where it needs to be. I got my my harmony generator with the automated harmonies. However, I wanted to take you along the same journey that I did, and I'll show you what I mean by that right now. And when I first started doing the harmonies and stuff like that, I thought that I wanted to harmonize and automate the harmony on this first portion here. But I came to the conclusion that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted this pre-hook to sound different from this. And if I'm automating the harmonies on this and this, it's going to sound to me, I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want it to sound the same. So I decided to automate the harmonies on this, which I've already taught you. You know how to do that. But originally, like I showed you, I had automated the harmony here. What I ended up deciding to do is for this track, again, the same one that we had before. Let me open this up a little bit. It's still stereo because I have the harmony engine on there and I want to pan my harmonies. I decided to leave the harmony on there the whole time. And it gave me like this little robotic sound. You can barely hear it. It's subliminal. The harmonies are very low. Another reason was these down here, since I'm using the low octave harmonies, this is already done in octave and I didn't want them to clash too much. So I decided it's too sudden for me to bring in the harmony on these parts because it increases the volume of these only on those portions. So what I decided to do is just for this track only, in stereo mode for the track, in the harmony engine, this is what I did. Open it up. This is the setting I decided to use, and it's on the track. It's always active. It's not automated. This goes the whole time that portion is the whole time this portion is playing, the harmonies are going. They're just very low in level. What I ended up doing was I ended up panning my low left 13, right 13. I could have done 10, whatever. But it's because these are panned already. These are already low octave harmonies. I guess you could call them that because I wanted that robotic sound. So these are the ones that are octave down. If you remember when we put the effects on the actual events, I wanted these to be lower in level a lot. And also I didn't want them panned to the left and right the same amount as those other ones. So that's where they're panned. And then I have these high harmonies. That's the level I'm using. And I have those panned out really wide. Left and right, 65%. And this is what it gave me.
Oh girl, you know I like it. Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels so erotic. Can't get enough of these glasses with.
Now of course you're going to have this in there too.
Oh girl, you know I like it. You've got me so excited. And when you're touching me, oh it feels.
Now we're going to come back in stereo as I've said. And I might end up making this whole thing, everything stereo, but there's some things you don't need to hear in stereo, and it'll take up precious space on the CD or DVD or whatever I ended up making. And I'm trying to give you guys as much info as possible with what I have on the disc. So if I do all tutorials in stereo, things that you don't even need to hear in stereo right away until we get to the mixing portion, it's just going to take up valuable space on the disc. So, because a stereo file is larger than a mono file. Anyway, besides all that, so that's what I ended up doing with that lead vocal. I only wanted this vocal to have harmony engine all the way through, but you need to be careful and you need to make sure you have your volume set correctly. All right, you don't want this up too loud. And you'd also want to mix it in context with these on, because I am using a low octave harmony, which these are already an octave down when we pitched them. So that's why these are so low. So that's what I did there. I just wanted to come back and show you guys that, what I did there. And what I ended up harmonizing on this portion, let me make sure my mixer has, for those, yep, my effects are turned on for those. I just don't have the reverb or anything on. So for these, let me mute these, solo.
Hold your glasses.
Wow, that's kind of loud.
Hold your glasses. Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down, the club is on fire.
So what's going on there? Well, what I did was on the actual, let's see here. Only one of them, okay, here's my left and my right. Only one of these has the harmony generator, all right? I don't need it on all of them. These are going to be panned left and right. I usually just use my center one for my harmony generation, all right, because I could do all my panning within the harmony engine. And you'll also notice that this center one is also got the stereo enabled, while these don't. These are just mono. You'll also notice that these are hard panned left and right, okay? So I got this harmony engine on the center one, and I got it automated, and here's the settings. This is my automation up here. So let me open this.
Hold your glasses to the sky.
Now watch the bypass, because that's what I'm automating. So let me scroll this down. Right here's the automation for the bypass.
Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher.
And what's happening is I'm automating in the same thing, an octave down and an octave up for my high. I know I'm only showing you octaves, but you can also experiment with your perfect fourths and your fifths, all right, and your sevenths. You can bring in other harmonies, okay? It's up to you how you want to harmonize.
Hold your glasses to the sky and
so let me mute this.
hold your glasses to the sky and
I can't because I'm automating. Okay, so you can see what my settings are.
hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know.
So yeah, I can't do that. Let's see. If I just mute these, you can hear the
Hold your glasses to the sky and
they're very low. I mean, so low that you can barely hear them, but they're there.
hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher.
So those are paying, everything here is paying 50-50, okay? The reason why I did it here, and this is just in this instance, is I have these hard left, hard right, and this one's in the center. I'm using this one for my harmony. I created a stereo track for that, even though it's a mono, because I'm going to be creating stereo effects with this, because I'm going to be panning the instances of the copies within the program, as I've already talked about, left and right. But since I have the original one panned left and the other one right, hard left, hard right, 100%, I wanted these to be 50, and I wanted these to be on top of each other. So this one's 50 left, 50 right, 50 left, 50 right. So I got a high and a low harmony 50 to the left, and a high and a low harmony 50 to the right. I like to keep my harmonies, my two highs next to each other, my two lows next to each other. And this is the setting I'm using for that. And it's automated, as I've said again a million times, to come in only on certain portions that I want to add harmonization.
Hold your glasses to the sky
and let me go unmute the low harmonies, which to you, without the beat going, it sounds kind of loud. You're like, wow, that's kind of loud for a low harmony.
hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher.
Now, once again, we're in mono right now for the tutorial, but once I come back and I get to the mixing, I just want to give you guys as much info as possible, so we'll come back. Don't worry, you're going to hear all this shit full stereo.
Hold your glasses to the sky and hey DJ, turn me higher. You know it's going down, the club is on fire.
So, there we go. I got some harmonies going on up in this bitch. Alright, so here we are at the bridge in that same session. Make sure I got all my effects from my bridge. Alright. Now what's going on here, and again, we're gonna go over all this when I go over the mixing aspects. I still got to show you guys the Nate Dogg effect type thing, which is over here. So we still got a treat for that. I just got to show you how I did everything. So it's only fair. So the bridge. This is my bridge bus. That bridge track right here. As you notice, I turned into a stereo track because why? Well, because I'm putting the harmony engine on there. And the harmony engine is not going to be automated. It's going to be all the way through the same thing on there. And I wanted to create like a robotic sound. So I have that on there. And I have it outputted to the bridge bus. As you can see here, bridge. So I right click, select, add bus for selected track. I renamed it bridge. Here it is. I've thrown on some effects. I've turned on the reverb, which I'll go over later. I keep saying that. Look, all these stuff I'm going to go over when I start mixing. So if you're questioning in your mind what's going on with that, I'll show you later. Here are the plugins that at this moment in time during the session I chose. I'm going to use these plugins, even though it's not final. At this point, it's kind of final because I do want to use these plugins, but in the end, I have another session called Laptopped, and what I do in that one is I take it on my laptop and I could take it to my car, and I might end up throwing in another Pro EQ plugin, as you can see here. And what happens is I start doing what you saw there, and I'll go over that later, which is removing resonances from my microphone that I hear on other speaker systems. Now, the bridge. What I have done is I put the harmonizer on there, and here's the settings that I used, and this is going through the whole entire bridge. There's no automation. I have the 50 left and 50 right, so my two highs are 50, my two lows are 50 left and 50 right. And the reason why I chose 50 left and 50 right is just because I wanted to do that, because I got the vocal in the center, and what this does is, even though it's a mono vocal, let's hear it mono. Well, you're a mono anyway, right?
I know that you like the things that I do. That's how I know that I'll be coming home.
Now let's bring this in. Now you hear that? I think I actually, in the real song, that little, where you hear me opening my mouth, I edited that out. I basically dragged this over and got rid of that.
I know that you like the things that I do. That's how I know that I'll be coming.
So this is the harmony. This is the original one, as I've already said.
I know that you like I know that you like.
Now I'm gonna mute this, and you're gonna hear only the harmonies.
I know that you like the things that I do.
By itself, it sounds like, what the fuck is that, right? I've already talked about my panning. Now when I bring them in,
I know that you like the things that I do. That's how I know that I'll be coming home with you.
hear how that crescendo, it comes in and it just sounds like a little robot type effect, because I got that low stuff in there. That low harmony creates that sound.
Ooh, that's how I know that I'll be coming home with you.
All right. You're hearing some delay too on that from my effects. Now, so that's how I did the harmony for that. Now, you're not hearing it in stereo. I'll come back in stereo shortly, and you're going to hear how all this amazingly sounds good in stereo. So that's how I did the bridge. That's how I created one single vocal to sound wide and sound like it's awesome, or sound stupid. If you don't like the way it sounds, I'm sorry if I didn't impress you. I'll try better next time. No, I won't. Here we go. So, there's that. You're hearing some, what would be...
I know that you lie.
Let's turn that off. Do I have a delay through? Yep, I do. All right, so, I'm going to go over all the plugins. I keep fucking saying that. Holy shit. So that's how I did the harmony and all the effects for like the robotic sound and making it sound wide, which when I come back in stereo, it's going to be a whole new world. It's a whole new world, right? As far as also what I did to this bridge is I'm going to restore this, and you're going to see what I did there. So there's the Waves 2 mono. I threw the Waves 2 mono on. You guys have already seen this happen before. Here's the Waves 2 mono. It's F minor, and I did 28 for my note tolerance, and those are the settings I used, which isn't really important. You guys know how to do all that stuff. I showed you guys how to do that already. Render that, baby. And it just rendered it stereo. I wonder why I did that. Oh. I was sitting here for a second like, what the fuck just happened? Check it out. It's because this is stereo. When I rendered it, I didn't have the harmony engine on there yet, so I did my pitch correction first, and then I rendered it. So right now when I render it, that's awesome that it does that. It should be a mono track. There we go. So now I flip this back to stereo, so now my harmony engine is in stereo. There we go. Now, you guys have probably been wondering, what is this ARC2 and this Apqualizer all about? Okay, I'm going to tell you. I have a video on YouTube that shows how to use plugins on your master bus, how to do room measurements. So you got to have a room measurement microphone, you got to know how to use Room EQ Wizard, you got to know how to do room measurements, you got to have acoustic treatment in your room, and all that kind of stuff in order to do what I'm doing. But what I do is I use ARC2, so you'd have to have that in order to do this. And I can monitor in my studio has a really flat response. I believe in the low end, I have like plus or minus 4 to 5 dB. All right. So if you don't know what that is, it's okay. You don't need to know what that is. But I'm not going to get into room acoustics. But I use ARC2 just as a reference. So I'll already have my room analyzed with ARC2. And I also analyzed ARC2 because a lot of people think you only want correction in the low end. I want also correction in the high end. I want to know that up in the 500 hertz and 600 hertz, which is very important, especially for vocals, and a lot of the higher frequency ranges that I got a pretty flat response, you know, it's pretty accurate. That way it'll sound good everywhere. So a mix will translate well to other systems when I mix them down and if I master them myself. But I use them as an alternate reference. I mix and master with my regular studio setup, which you've probably seen. But I also use, as a second reference, I use this also to make sure it does sound good inside ARC2, because ARC2 offers other things where I can sound like I am listening through other virtual monitoring systems if I want to. So I mess around with that too. Not really a lot. But what's going on here is I'll listen to it and I'll do my mixing, and then I'll turn on ARC2, and then I'll also turn this one on, which is, if you go watch my video tutorial called, I believe it's called Room Correction with a Plugin. It's one of my video tutorials that shows people how to correct their room with EQ. Now, here's the thing. If your room is not treated at all, there's a whole debate about this, okay? If you've been in the forums, and you probably heard of the debate. If your room's not treated at all, then, well, if you try this, you're not going to get very good effects. And even you use an ARC up here, you won't get as good effects as if you have some treatment, at least at the first reflection points above your mix position and your back wall. You know, if nothing's treated, you're not going to get as good results. You're going to still have a lot of reverb and stuff in your room. Now, I'm not trying to go over room acoustics in this tutorial CD, because room acoustics could take a whole tutorial CD on its own, maybe 5 DVDs. But I'm using ARC2, so in case you're wondering, I got that going on. And I enable that when I'm doing my mixing and mastering, and I disable it also. And then I have this is a little trick that I came up with myself, all right? No one showed me this. I used my brain and my nerd skills to come up with this on my own. And I'm probably the only person that has a video on it on YouTube. But I'm also using, what I did was I measured ARC2 through Room EQ Wizard, which is another program to measure your room. And what I did was I measured the ARC correction through Room EQ Wizard and generated some correction filters, and I plugged those correction filters as you see in my video on YouTube. And these are the correction filters that I did further correction with. All right, so basically I got ARC doing room correction, and then I have this one doing correction on ARC2. So I got an even flatter response. So I just thought I'd throw that out there in case you guys are looking at my master bus right now thinking, what the fuck is all that shit all about? Now you know. All right, so I got this one called Club on Fire ready for laptop. And what this is once I do my mix inside my studio, I create a new folder. So I save a new version version. A new version, and it's going to be called Ready for Laptop. What that means is I'm going to throw it on my laptop because I have Studio One Pro on my laptop. I also have all the same plugins. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, you probably see my video, and that is where you should go watch it. It's on my YouTube. I show how to use other monitoring systems in order to monitor your playback or to monitor your song while you're doing your mixing. And all I do is I use my headphone output for my laptop. I get a 1/8 inch to 1/8 inch extension, and I plug into the receiver and the stereo receiver in my car, in my truck, in my ghetto blaster that's behind me, all kinds of different systems around my home. I basically plug in, and that's what that means. It means I'm done. We're doing everything in my studio. I'm done mixing it. Why do I do this? Well, first off, because I do a lot of my own mastering. The one that's mastered on my SoundCloud is actually mastered by Balance Mastering, so you can go ahead and look them up. That's BALANCE Mastering. The engineer John used to do stuff. He's worked for some pretty major people in the industry. He's done stuff for, like, let's say, Batman Returns. He has a whole biography on his page. Go check it out. But he did the mastering for my SoundCloud, and that would also go to clubs. If I was going to do a radio, that'd be me doing it because that master's kind of loud. I believe it's like negative 8.5 RMS. For a radio, I would do like negative 10 RMS because the radio is going to squash it even more with their limiters. So I don't want a really squished sound if it's going to go on radio. Now, besides all that, my laptop, what it allows me to do is take it around and listen to other systems. The reason why is because I'm going to start removing resonant frequencies. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the session so you can check it out. But before I do that, let me talk about, I'm not going to go too deep into room acoustics, but your room has reverb, some amount of reverb time. Your reverb time is going to determine how much reverb you add to your vocals and all instruments. If your room has no room treatment, it's going to sound like an echo box. So what's going to happen in an echo box inside of your room that has no treatment? Well, if you're trying to add reverb, you're not going to add much because it sounds like there's already a lot of echo and a lot of reverb, right? So you're not going to add none. So once you mix it down, or if you take your laptop to your car, or you do old school and you throw it down to CD and you go to your car, it's going to be like no reverb on your vocals. You're going to listen to it and you're like, man, where's the reverb? Because a car or truck has a sound, but not as much reverb as your room. So your vocals, where you thought you had a lot of reverb or you had some reverb on your vocals, that was just your room sound. Because in the car now, it sounds like really dry. There's no reverb on the vocals. Nothing sounds like it has space. You know what I mean? So if you have treatment up everywhere, here's the opposite end of the spectrum. If you have treatment everywhere, like foam just randomly thrown around your room, like a foam monster just took a shit and like farted out foam all over your room, all over your room, here's what's going to happen. It's going to sound really dead. The reverb, it's not going to have much reverb. So what you're going to do is you're going to add a shit ton of reverb to your vocals. Then, so it's really dead in your room. When you take it and it's playing on a club system, or if it's playing like in someone's house on their stereo, well, guess what? Their walls are, they're just walls. They're not treated like your room that has foam everywhere by the foam monster that shitted it everywhere. So when your song plays over there, it's going to sound washed out, too much reverb because you added too much reverb because you had crazy treatment all over your walls. The room that I'm in is specifically tailored to have a certain sound, and my reverb time, which is called RT60, is about 250 milliseconds across the frequency range. Now, over here to the left is my milliseconds, so 100 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds, 300 milliseconds. Along the bottom is my frequency. Now, this is across the whole frequency range. It's pretty flat. Now, some of your guys' rooms, if you clap your hands and it keeps echoing and the reverb's in there, you might have a reverb time of like 7 seconds. So let's just put a 7 in front of this 3, 7.3 would give you 7.3 seconds. And that might be just on a certain frequency range. So what's going to happen is a lot of your rooms are not flat like this. They're all over the place with the reverb time. So what happens is you have unbalanced reverb, even the reverb's unbalanced. So room EQ, the EQ like ARC2 and all that kind of stuff, ARC and all these other tricks for EQ in your room only go so far because they don't really mess with the time domain too much, which is frequency over time. So if your room has just got crazy reverb time, it's going to be hard to match your reverb and to make your reverb sound good. I can mix my reverb in this room on all elements of a mix, all instruments, and take it somewhere else and it's going to sound pretty good. However, there are times when I go to my car or my truck, and the smaller the car, the more you're going to notice this, is I might go to my car and the reverb sounds like it might be just a tad too much for the car. So what I'll do is I'll just take the whole entire reverb, send, and I'll bring down the level just a touch. Sometimes I might have to do that. Not all the time. So I know I said I wasn't going to go into room acoustics too much. You guys want to see some frequency plots of my room for shits and giggles, whatever. Here we go. I got a 5 decibel plus or minus line in my room. Some of you guys might have a big dip right here around, 100 hertz. Some of you guys have no bass. There's like, if you were to do a measurement, if you take this purple line or red line, bring it all the way down to where you're sitting, there's no bass. But when you walk around your room, you hear bass at certain points in your room where the bass is really loud and you're like, what the fuck's going on here? Well, I don't really have that problem because I've already acoustically treated it. Excuse me. Now, here's my low end. As you can see, it's like a plus or right here, it's like down about 3 decibels and then up at the highest point about 5 dB. So I got a pretty good room sound in here. All right. I don't have to use ARC2. Like I said, I just do it for alternative mixing environment. Now, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to open up this Ready for Laptop, but we're not going to open that one. So pretend like I've gone to my laptop, I've taken it around, and I've adjusted some reverb. What else am I doing? I'm also adjusting EQ. The EQ that I throw on, which you're about to see, is for resonant frequencies. When I take this laptop and I go to my bedroom, I got a Logitech system in there, 2.1. It's got like an 8-inch woofer, 2 satellite speakers. I might hear some resonant frequencies, so I'll adjust those. You're going to see what that is shortly. And then when I go to my daughter's little system, I might hear some resonant frequencies. And then when I go in my car, my truck. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get a good balance between all these. Now, a lot of people don't like doing that, but I do it because I'm going to be mixing and mastering my own shit. And I might not make adjustments at all. I might be in my studio and everything comes out just fine. I don't need to mess with shit. But let's just say if I do, okay? I have that opportunity to do that. So pretend I've done that on my laptop. I've found what I needed to do. Okay, I found what I needed to do. And now I'm going to save on my laptop a folder, and it's going to be called Final Club on Fire. And this is the final one. I'm going to take it. I'm going to put it on my hard drive, take it from my laptop, take it back down here to my studio. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to listen and see how everything sounds. Do any final adjustments. Close everything down, come back the next day. All right? It's a good idea to do that kind of stuff. Come back the next day or even a couple hours, day, 2 days, whatever, and open it back up with a fresh set of ears and listen again. See how everything sounds. So pretend like I did everything on my laptop. I'm going to open up the Final Club on Fire session as when everything's done. So here we are in the final session, and this is what I did with that EQ. Let's just look at, for instance, the lead bus. Here's my initial EQ, right? Then I do some isotope nectar stuff, which I'm going to go over when I go over the mixing aspect, and we'll be in stereo. And then we have right here the EQ, where I removed resonant frequencies, and that is what I did on my laptop. I went out to my car and other places, and here. I started here with the EQ, started removing some resonant frequencies, and I went and checked them on other systems. So each one of these vocal tracks. Now, why am I doing this? A lot of you probably won't even have to do that. I'm doing it because I'm using an AKG Perception 200. It's a harsh microphone. It's only $150. These lower dollar microphones tend to have resonances that can make it sound not so professional. So me removing the resonant frequencies makes it sound better. It makes it sound like a higher dollar microphone than what it really is. So I removed, let's say, at this frequency, and this frequency, right? So I basically, that's all I'm doing there is, and you'll see it on all these vocal tracks. Then on the main, because all of these vocal buses, all my elements are going to this all Vox bus, which I always make green. You'll notice that the output of these are going to the all Vox, because they can go to the main too, but I changed them to all Vox. Okay, so they're all going to this all Vox. All my vocals are going there. You also, when I get to the mixing section, I'll talk about it. A lot of people don't know this, but your sends need to go to your all Vox too if you're going to be doing it in this fashion. So, there we go. I got the Kramer tape by Waves on there, which we'll go over. But here's the EQ, the final EQ I did on my vocals. And all this did was instead of boosting the high end too much, I basically, if you could pretend for a second that I'm not doing a big dip right here, I'm basically removing a lot of the from here on down, which is in effect kind of like increasing gain on the top end. I'm not going to go into 100% mixing stuff here in EQ filters. Just know that I'm basically creating a high shelf, but I'm doing it in such a way, it's called the yin and yang of EQ. All right, I go over it in my DVD, and it's basically me removing frequencies instead of adding too much, because I could have left this flat and just brought up the high frequencies. That's not my goal. That's not what I was trying to do. It didn't give me the sound I wanted. So this is what I did. So that's where the final EQ on everything and the final de-essing that I do. So that's what I did on the laptop. Just these resonant frequencies, removing resonant frequencies. Removed a lot of them right there. So if we slide over here to, let's say, the lead vocal, solo that.
Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my what's up? What's up? Yeah, you can look, but you don't say. Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my what's up? What?
So a lot of you probably won't even hear any difference in this, okay? Because all I'm doing is removing resonant frequencies. It's not going to be really noticeable.
Hopping out my whip and I'm gripping on my
Plus, it's not that loud right now because we aren't to the mixing section. So there we go. That's what I did with that. Over here is all my mastering stuff. So let me just talk about shortly. What we're going to do is we're going to, before I go into stereo and start mixing, so you guys aren't like lost in the dark, I'm going to go over my whole entire plugins that I have on the final session.